This is why the economy knows better than dumbass economists, okay? I hate to say that, but dumbass economists, okay? The economy, why can't this generation afford real estate? Because we had the greatest real estate bubble in history, a second one, which you never see, as I say, two bubbles in a row. We had a first real estate bubble in 2000 and then a second one now. Real estate is the most unaffordable it's ever been, and we didn't have a real estate unaffordability problem even in the roaring 20s bubble, okay? It was a stock bubble because real estate was too hard to finance back then. Back then, you know what a mortgage was? 50% down and 5-year termination, okay? 5-year maturity, okay? So people couldn't speculate and couldn't get loans so easy back then. So we've had very easy mortgages, a second real estate bubble, and that, of course, that's why this poor generation can't afford to buy a new house or the same house a baby boomer could have when they were in their late 20s. Typically, your first home purchase is peaks at 31, and then your second home, your trade-up home, your largest home peaks at 42. Well, for this generation, they're not getting their first home until 34 to 35, and who knows when they're going to get their trade-up home. We won't see this again. We will not see a bubble economy for our kids. Will probably not even see a bubble economy decades and decades from now. It happens once in a lifetime at most.
And this is the bubble of our lifetime right now.
This is the bubble of our lifetime, and bigger than either the 1837 peak or the 29 peak. This is going to be the biggest crisis in the baby boomers' life. The biggest crisis of the Bob Hope generation was the Great Depression. This is going to be the big crisis. The final kind of depression into this is going to hit the baby boomers the hardest, because they're going to need that net worth that's going to disappear at the speed of light. And I mean disappear and not come back.
I guess I'll ask you what your view on Bitcoin is, given that you think there's going to be a crash in the NASDAQ, and given that historically they've been correlated.
Yes. Okay, real quick. So I'm predicting the S&P will go down 86%, the NASDAQ 92%, and guess what? The crypto sector, Bitcoin being, because there isn't a good enough index, will go down more like 95, 96%. So they are lead bubble. And so that means Bitcoin goes, and nobody's going to believe this in that industry. And I'm down here in Puerto Rico surrounded by crypto people. They've all moved here for the tax purposes because they're in big capital gains industry. The Bitcoin will fall from 69,000 to about 3,000 to 4,000, David. And people say, then people will say, oh, well, that was just total BS. Oh, it was just a big hoax. No, it's exactly what Amazon and the dot-coms did. That will even prove to me more. This bubble, the size of this crypto bubble, says to me, this is not a joke. This is the next big thing happening. It monitors and echoes the dot-com bubble perfectly, and the crash should be equally bad, 95 to 96%, which is what Amazon and the dot-coms went down, and then have a great boom for decades to follow. So this is just the baby bubble in a longer boom that will not peak until the 2030s, when the millennials peak in their spending cycle, is when you'll see crypto and all these things like Bitcoin and blockchain. And it's not Bitcoin. Bitcoin is just kind of the lead dog here. Blockchain is a way of reconstructing all financial services. It is basically a revolution, particularly in financial services. And why is financial services so important? For the first time in history, we have the point where everyday people have substantial wealth. Have hundreds of thousands of dollars going in retirement. They didn't have that in the roaring 20s or in the 50s and 60s. So this is a wealth revolution. This is a revolution in financial services being ushered in by blockchain technology. And I see Bitcoin is not that useful. I see Bitcoin being the number one, 43% of the whole index today, okay, of the $9 trillion in value there, 43% of it's Bitcoin. I see Bitcoin becoming the standard for a digital global economy, like gold in the past was this monetary standard in a more material, less information intensive economy in the past. I see gold cannot be that standard. It's not the new economy. Bitcoin is the new economy and is big enough to be that standard. And that's why I see Bitcoin will survive, because otherwise Ethereum does a lot more useful stuff than Bitcoin, for example.